Welcome into Locked On Knicks. Alex Wolf here, breaking down the Knicks 115-92 loss to the Pelicans, but they were without Jalen Brunson and Isaiah Hartenstein, so I'll have injury updates on them, why Bojan Bogdanovic kind of impressed me in this game, and why I think there's maybe an untapped part of his game that the Knicks could take advantage of, especially once everybody gets healthy, and some other great performances from Josh Hart and Donte DiVincenzo, still stepping up when the team needs them. Going to talk about that, Deuce McBride, and more next on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Knicks first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube. We appreciate you making us a part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit that notification bell on YouTube or the auto download function on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. That's, of course, after you subscribe on both platforms to make sure that you're always up to date with what we're doing. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find thestrick.land. And your New York Knicks lose 115-92 to the New Orleans Pelicans. And I mean, look, I think this was just another. I'm going to preface this by saying, like, I think this is one of those games that, in terms of overall team evaluation, if you were pulling your hair out in this game or taking too much away from it, I think you just take a step back. This was obviously not an ideal scenario for the Knicks in this game. They were out 4 of 5 starters and then one key bench piece, whichever one you think Mitch is or Isaiah Hartenstein is as far as the key bench piece, but they were out 4 or 5 starters no matter what. Brunson, OG, Randall, and then Hartenstein or Mitch. So most of this team was not on the floor for this game. And yet, even so, on the second game of a back-to-back, they, I think, played pretty well, all things considered, kept themselves in the game all the way up until the fourth quarter, at which point the wheels finally just kind of came off, and the Pelicans, who had most of their players, they were short CJ McCollum and Jose Alvarado, so, two somewhat key pieces, they were out, but, still had Zion Williamson, still had Brandon Ingram, still had Trey Murphy, and et cetera, et cetera. So, I think this was not a game that you take too much away from on the macro level of what this means for this team going forward. But there were some things to like on the micro level of, individual things from certain players and things I think the Knicks can seize upon. But first, I figured I'd give updates on the injuries based off what we heard yesterday and what we're hearing, what we heard after the game. So Jalen Brunson missed this game with cervical or neck spasms. And Ian Begley asked about it. And Tom Thibodeau said, so this is just Begley's tweet here. Tom Thibodeau said, Jalen Brunson woke up with neck spasms this morning after taking some hits in the win over Detroit last night. So I guess no greater testament to, like, hey, I'm not getting enough calls than my neck is spasming the next day from the amount of times I was hitting the head. But yeah, nothing to mess with there with your neck. You want to take care of that. Spasms usually, hopefully, are just from like overuse and, maybe just from tweaking something more so than a full on like pinched nerve or something like that, which can be a little more nasty. But still, hopefully not a long-term ailment for Brunson. Hopefully he'll be okay for the showdown with Steph Curry on Thursday, because the Warriors are really playing well right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. And then, of course, Cleveland over the weekend, and Cleveland is about as hot as any team in the league right now. So, yeah, you hope Brunson can get back for those games. Now, granted, without more reinforcements, the Knicks might still be having a hard time, but I think this game kind of proved they, at the very minimum, need their all-star back. One of their 2 all-stars, I should say. But they're one who's been here for the most time this season and who is, playing at an all NBA level with Jalen Brunson. He gives them a chance to be in any game in theory, but Yeah, hopefully he feels better sooner than later. And then Isaiah Hartenstein. So here, there's two updates via Ian Begley, with some quotes from Tibbs. So Ian before the game said, asked about Isaiah Hartenstein, about his Achilles missing game versus New Orleans, and Tom Thibodeau said, just where we are in the season, we thought the smart thing was take tonight off, get rest, do your recovery. That's where we're at with that. He noted Hartenstein's been ramping up since the All-Star break. And then post game, Begley got another quote from Tibbs, and said Isaiah Hartenstein's status is basically day to day. And then Tibbs said in general, he's felt pretty good, so just keep ramping him up and go from there. Then Begley notes that's what Tibbs said after Hartenstein sat out Tuesday's loss with Achilles soreness. So I think it's really good for the Knicks again that they have Precious playing as well as he has been. Because as Hartenstein continues to ramp up, Precious can kind of keep him under 30 minutes right now. Really seems like the Achilles thing is just going to kind of flare up every time Hartenstein plays too many minutes now. So having Precious and then eventually Mitch there to spell him should be key. I think, also Sims. I mean, Sims has proven more to me than I thought that he was going to this year, which I'll talk about him in a minute. But like, yeah, I think the Knicks kind of find themselves in a place now with Hartenstein where, I was noting after last game, like, oh, he's up to 28 minutes now, and he played like 11 when they first got back from the All-Star break, then like 20 or 21 in that second game, and then got to 27 last game before sitting out this game. I'm starting to wonder if like under 30 minutes is the sweet spot for him, maybe 27 minutes, 28 minutes, something like that. But either way, hopefully they're able to manage it because we've seen the last few games, even if he's only out there a limited amount of time, he does everything that he normally does in whatever amount of minutes that he plays. So, hopefully they're able to, kind of keep this injury in check so that they can keep getting 25 minutes of Isaiah Hartenstein is better than 0 minutes of Isaiah Hartenstein and him having to sit out for another week or two again. So it's good to see the Tibbs maybe at the strong urging of the medical staff at least understands that now. So that's good to see. But yeah, I think there were, as far as this overall game, I'm not going to get too much into the overall flow of the game or anything. I mean, again, the Knicks stayed in it through the first half. They're only down one at the half, and then they were pretty well in it through the third quarter. And then fourth quarter, the wheels just kind of fell off. That's kind of all you need to know. It's how much are you going to glean from like the overall team effort when most of the team didn't suit up. But I will say one guy that kind of opened my eyes a bit, or maybe not so much opened my eyes, but just was finally able to sort of play a minute load and play a role that I think suited him pretty well was Bojan Bogdanovic. 20 points for him, 5 assists, 4 boards, shot 6 of 14, 4 of 10 from 3. And I've said this before based off his Detroit tape, and we haven't gotten to see it too much with the Knicks, but we did get to see it some in this game. I just think there's something here with him being a creator on the floor when the team is short creators, and I think once Brunson gets back, once Hartenstein gets back in, and then if OG Anunoby beats Julius Randle to the court, I really think a starting lineup of Brunson, Dante, OG, Bojan, and iHeart gives you the best chance to start games off on the right foot because Bojan can handle the ball. He can, make things happen that way. He can create his own shot if need be. So there's someone other than Brunson out there that can just be handed the ball and told, go figure it out. But he also can set up other teammates, and I think that he did a really good job of that in this game. He was keeping the ball fluid. You could pretty much guarantee that he's gonna, if he gets the ball and if he gets the ball from 3-point range and he's wide open, he's gonna shoot it. And that is great because he's a really good shooter. And he showed that in this game. The quick release is there. But if not, you could pretty much bank on you're going to get a quick fake out of him. He's going to be able to put it on the floor. He can put a defender on his hip. He can do a lot of the things that like some of the other guys on this team struggle to do as far as controlling just pace and tempo with the ball in his hands and then being patient enough to potentially hit a teammate. And, he did that a lot in this game. Like he had a couple good drives from the corner where he drew the defense in as he just kind of slowly made his way in and then waited for the cut and then hit Precious on one and Josh Hart on another for easy finishes that way. I think if the Knicks use him more in that way, that will be really, really good for him. I mean, it's sort of similar. OG can do a sort of similar thing from the corner, but I don't think that I think he kind of drives in with more reckless abandon and more just trying to get in and get the layup, whereas Bojan is better at gauging the options available to him. I also think that OG would benefit greatly from being able to cut in off of Bojan handling the ball because OG has shown since he's been with the Knicks that he's a phenomenal cutter. And, if they can find more ways to feed him that way, then more power to them. I think that they should definitely do that. I also think there's something with Boyan running pick and roll as well. I mean, this is something that I feel like we haven't seen a ton with the Knicks yet, where he's mostly been kind of waiting for the pass and then working off of that, just getting the ball and then trying to make a quick decision, or just kind of getting the ball like around the elbow for three and just sort of you know cooking, to for lack of a better term, like just kind of being given the ball and being like, all right, figure something out, create a shot here or whatever. But I think if they run more pick and roll with him, it could be good. I mean, he's per NBA stats, he's 83rd percentile in points per possession out of the pick and roll this season at over a point per possession, which is good. I mean, I think that shows you that he can create out of that spot, and he was right there with a number of other guys that are like point guards and shooting guards and guys that you expect to be running pick and rolls. So, I think that that's something that's worth exploring for the Knicks this year, especially because on his tape from Detroit, you could really see he has a good amount of patience with running the pick and roll and getting inside. He's got those long limbs, and he might not be the fastest guy, but he's crafty, so he's good at that wraparound pass around the defender to find the big, to get them the bucket there, or just taking a shot himself. If he gets a mismatch of any sort, he's going to take advantage of that. So yeah, I think that would be a good idea, and I think that working him into more playmaking situations can only do good for the Knicks. I want to talk about the Villanova combo, not the Villanova trio this time because the Jalen Brunson didn't play, obviously, but Josh Hart and Donte DiVincenzo had good games. Also, Precious, Deuce, Jericho Sims all had good games as well, in the relative scope of things, considering the overall game. But first, I want to let you know about our friends over at BetterHelp. This next segment is brought to us by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something you might even be thinking about the same thing this week. And hey, on a small scale, the Knicks injuries and all in all has been, getting on my psyche a little bit. It's making this team less enjoyable to watch. But what, if I'm going to be honest, a more, I guess, relatable thing that I've been struggling with this week is that Gavin is off this week, and he's doing his job as a play-by-play broadcaster, and it's great, but unfortunately, that means that there's more solo episodes for me this week, and that's stressful. I think it creates a lot of anxiety for me. I always worry that I'm not presenting well enough, that I'm not making good enough points by myself, that people will be bored of the show or whatever. And it honestly keeps me up at night. It kept me up last night until late in the night. And then I'm recording this in the morning because it gets to me. It's tough, trying to go at something by yourself and, having to deal with the stresses of work that comes along and all that stuff. And, if you feel similar things with your job or with anything in life, you can always check out BetterHelp. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team. And it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while, such as, being nervous about doing some solo episodes of a podcast. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. So visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. And today's show is also brought to you by Stitch Fix. You know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? That's what I get with Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget, and they do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. You can easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new, on-trend favorites that will work for you. All you do is give your stylist your size, style, and budget preference, and you order boxes when you want and how you want with no subscription required. and they send 5 just for you pieces plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. You keep what works and you send back the rest. So no huge commitment there. Your stylist always sends just right pieces and the fit is on point. It's like they have style ESP. You don't know, you'll probably find yourself asking, how do they do this? How do they know exactly what I want? But that's why they get paid the big bucks, right? Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. I don't like to shop, and they can save you time and effort. Plus, you get outfits that make you look and feel really good. So, style that makes you feel as good as you look. You can get started today at stitchfix.com/locked on. That's stitchfix.com/locked on. Stitchfix.com/locked on. All right, and I'm back in to keep talking through this Knicks loss. And again, not a ton to glean as far as the overall team dynamic here. So I'm going to keep just kind of highlighting the individuals in this game and what they were able to do. Josh Hart, 15 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals. Again, plays 40 plus minutes. And I'll just say, like, for whatever flaws Josh Hart has, you really can't knock that he's been a total warrior lately, playing all these minutes, playing this huge role that is definitely not the ideal role for him. Like, it's not ideal to have him out there playing 40 plus minutes and starting, and yet here he is doing it. He came really close to getting his nose broken by Zion Williamson early on in the game when Zion followed through on a block and just absolutely clubbed him in the face. No call on that, of course, because the refs continue to just do what they do. Hart did the the best type of ref protest with that though, which I give him props for, which was he knew his nose was bleeding and didn't wipe it at all, and then walked up to the ref and pointed to it. And yeah, I couldn't read lips or anything, but you could tell that the general message here was, "Hey, do you think my nose just like bloodied itself? Maybe call the foul next time because obviously I got clubbed in the face here." So yeah, that was pretty funny. And the classic Josh Hart expression of bewilderment attached to that. So yeah, that was not fun. Seeing the Knicks continually get smacked in the head and not get foul calls has kind of just become a normal thing. That's why Brunson is out of this game with neck spasms from getting smacked in the head too often. But anyway, Hart did most of his damage in the first half. He had his midi going, which was nice. Made a couple mid-range jumpers and managed to get all the way to the rim and finish a few times as well. Was pushing on the break like he always does. So, sort of standard Josh Hart stuff. His first basket was a 3-pointer as well. So I thought maybe we were in for a little bit better of a game from 3, but he didn't end up taking any more in the first half. And then did not have as good of luck in the second half with shooting the 3. I think he finished 1 for 4, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't write it down, but not overall important. But he seemed like his legs sort of left him in the second half. And it's understandable. The minutes load, he was on the back to back, had increased usage. I think it just kind of all got to him a bit. Didn't look like he had a ton of lift. He kind of got his lunch eaten a few times, but I think, if I'm drawing like one positive each from these guys from, what we've been able to see during this injured stretch, Hart looks like he's shooting with more confidence from 3 now. So if that's the one positive we get out of this for when the whole team's healthy, then I think that's a win. So I'll take that. Then we had Donte DiVincenzo, 23 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, shot 7 of 18 from 3. Crazy amount of 3-point attempts there. And hey, a byproduct, we've seen this with the Knicks before when they've been really hurt. A byproduct of not having enough playmaking on the floor is just taking a ton of threes, because if you can't break the defense down, you're going to end up just shooting from outside for a lot of the game. And the Knicks sort of tried to just do that and just hope that they could 3-point shoot themselves into potentially winning this game. And it kind of fell apart down the stretch, but he took 18 again of a pretty crazy 46 overall attempts for the Knicks, and they averaged 35 and a half attempts this year for reference. So that's a lot of threes to take. But I'll go back to a comp I made a few weeks ago, which was met with mixed reactions. I think maybe people misunderstanding what I was trying to get at, but I feel like Donte having to be miscast as a first option on offense with all the injuries really reminds me of when Tim Hardaway Jr. was miscast as a first option on the Knicks after Porzingis got hurt and all that stuff back, way back when. when all that happened. And uh, yeah, I just think it's not always pretty, but he can go out there. He can at least eat up those scoring opportunities. He can definitely take a ton of threes. He struggles a bit off the dribble to really break guys down, which is why it limits him being able to be a true first option out there. But I think that he's done a really good job when the Knicks have needed him of just, if nothing else, kind of like jumping on the grenade for the rest of his teammates, in these really tough games and saying, you know what, guys, like I'll be the one to take a bunch of shots if that's what we need. Like, I can go out there, I can eat them up. It might not be pretty all the time. Uh, you know, I'm sure that he doesn't say this, but he probably understands like I'm not Jalen Brunson, I'm not Julius Randle, I'm not, any of these guys that could just like take guys off the dribble from out on the perimeter and drive in and get tons of hoops inside and draw tons of fouls or whatever. But he understands what his skill set is and he just continues to use it. And I think if we're looking at positives that we can take away from this tough injury stretch, I think the main one for me as far as he's concerned would be if this has unlocked him as like a 40+% 3-point shooter on like Steph Curry 10 plus attempt volume, I think I'll take that. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good outcome for the Knicks here, to have Dante, able to do that whenever you need it. Because in an ideal world, he's probably the fourth option in the starting lineup on this team, because I think you would, I guess maybe you pick between him and Anunoby, but the third option, the 3A or the 3B, whatever you want to say. But ideally Brunson is option one, Randall is option two, and then you've got OG and Dante as your next best guys out there, and that's a really good, two-headed monster as far as the number three option there. And then with Hartenstein as well, or Mitch for that matter, who both can finish inside, and Hartenstein offers you a little more with the passing and the floater game and stuff like that. Like they're gonna have a very, very, very balanced starting lineup now once things get back into the swing of things here, and they have their full strength starting lineup again. But I want to talk about Precious Achiuwa again, who had another good game for him, and also a really funny thing from the sideline reporting about him, which I just want to highlight because it was funny. Deuce McBride had a pretty good game, although a little rough shooting, but I think we learned some important lessons about Deuce as well. Another good game for Jericho Sims, and maybe a little talk about how things are kind of rough for Alec Burks at the moment. But first, I want to let you all know about our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, and I'm back in to finish up talking through this game. Again, 115-92 loss to the Pelicans, but a game where the Knicks were without four of their starters, five of their top 6, 7 rotation players. So, not exactly ideal circumstances in this game, as we've seen. Hopefully things start getting better soon. Maybe we'll get an injury update on OG Anunoby soon. Or on Julius Randle for that matter, or on Mitchell Robinson. So, any of those guys, it would be great. Also, hopefully Jalen Brunson and Isaiah Hartenstein are back soon. But in the meantime, Precious Achiuwa just seems fine with playing 40 minutes every single game and just playing really well in those minutes. Had 15 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block in 40 minutes in this game. Just another workmanlike game for him. I wish the three could fall a little more for him, because that would really unlock some different stuff for him and this team. He shot 0 of 3 from 3 in this game, but that is what it is, I guess. I think he was also tasked with, or maybe he self-tasked himself, but really, I mean, I think that anyone could have identified like everyone was going to have to try to put the ball on the floor and do some stuff this game. And Precious tried that a little bit and got himself, into like some jumper situations and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know necessarily if that's the role that I want him in, but it is what it is. He gave it a shot, and the team just kind of needed anyone to try to find a spark in this one. But I will say his verticality, finishing dunks on dives to the rim, continues to impress me. I really think he has a good knack, not just for like a lob pass, but also just for corralling the pass, controlling it, and then being able to get up there and get a dunk down, or layup, or whatever the case may be. When he's diving to the hoop, like, I think he has great control of his body there, and I like to see that, and hopefully they keep utilizing that. I mean, I think especially once, if he claims a full time bench role once this team is healthy behind Julius Randle, presumably he's going to be playing with Bojan a lot. So, maybe that's your opportunity to take advantage of Bojan being pretty good in pick and roll and have him run pick and roll with Precious, and, see what becomes of that. But um, yeah, I don't know. I think that's possibly what the future can hold for Precious. I think that this stretch has just kind of showed that he can do a little bit of everything, which is good. And I think I said in the last episode, pay him pretty much whatever he wants within reason this offseason. And I think I still stand by that. The Knicks are about to be a pretty well over the cap team regardless. And they're probably going to have to dip into the luxury tax next year, if they do everything they want to do this offseason, as re-signing OG and everything else. And then eventually, extending certain guys or whatever. So if you can keep Precious on a, I don't know, 13 million a year contract or something like that, and even if he's just a breaking case of emergency, like 15-minute bench guy that can, give you potentially 40 minutes for a month, 40 minutes per game for a month. I mean, I think that's a pretty good player to have on your team with how versatile he has been to this point. Also, there was a kind of hilarious, easily disprovable thing on the commentary and from Rebecca Harlow. So she said that she talked to Precious pregame, and the Precious made a comment that he's so locked in with the Knicks that he hasn't even looked at social media since the trade, or he hasn't been on social media at all. And I don't know if that was just her misinterpreting him or whatever, but I mean, he had a tweet that went semi-viral in the Knicks community recently, where he said it was nasty work after the Rockets call. I believe that was what that was after, if I'm not mistaken. But nasty work and a face palm emoji after that game. And then he's had a couple other tweets since coming to the Knicks. So I mean, obviously he's been on Twitter, like he's tweeting. So it's not a ton. It's like once a week or something. So maybe he's reducing his social media consumption to once a week. But it was just really funny to hear like Mike Breen then be like, wow, in this day and age, he hasn't been on social media once in 2 months. Like, that's insane. And I was like, well, no, he's definitely been on social media. Maybe just he has been on it a ton, but he's definitely been on it. So I don't know, just kind of a funny little thing. Anyway, Deuce McBride starts in this game, ends with 10 points, 8 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, shoots 3 of 11, 2 of 7 from 3. So I think my overall takeaway with Deuce was two things from this game. So I think it tells you two things. One, he's still just not quite ready to be a point guard, at least not like exclusively a point guard. And it's possible he won't ever be, which is fine. I just think this game kind of showed off his willingness to pass, which is great. He had 8 assists in this game. He's always a willing passer. He looks for the swing pass a lot, which is great. But that's how most of his assists came, and I think that's the big thing that separates it for me. And this is why the Emmanuel Quickly not being a point guard debate always was kind of stupid to me, because Quickly was always able to drive inside, and whether he could fully finish inside was a different story. But he could drive inside, he could generate that pressure. He had that floater that would work for him, and then he was able to kick it out to shooters after that. And that's a key part of being a point guard, is being able to break down the defense from the perimeter, get inside, and then create some movement to get the defense shifting, and hopefully open up a teammate for an open three or a cut or whatever the case may be. And I think that's where Deuce struggles right now. Like, most of those 8 assists in this game just came on the perimeter. And usually it was after Deuce tried to get past the first round of defense and wasn't able to get past it. And then kind of just found a guy who, like Bojan, for example, who was able to get the ball, kind of give a quick little pump and then make a three, or Josh Hart, who got it and then started to drive in immediately and then kind of like pulled up for a midi or whatever. Like, it was a lot of those type of assists where it was like, yeah, technically speaking, it's an assist, but it's not really like one that Deuce created, by breaking down the defense or whatever and making something out of nothing for his teammates. So again, I'm not trying to like knock him or whatever, but I do question if he's like a true point guard like that. And I don't know when the clock strikes midnight on that, as far as if we're willing to keep entertaining that idea, but I'm reaching closer personally to that point. But that said, the number two thing that I think that I've taken away from Deuce in this game and from this stretch overall is I think he should still be getting some minutes with Brunson. Like we've seen him elevate both Emmanuel Quickly and Jalen Brunson as a low minutes backup shooting guard. And I think he's much better from three and lower stress spot up opportunities. So I think he should definitely be in that role still, even once everybody's healthy, and still get a few minutes every game to kind of come out and support Brunson defensively, try to get breaks going that way and take some spot up threes, because that's been when he's at his best this year. Jericho Sims had another good outing, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 3 of 3 shooting. I don't think there was anything too different from him in this game, save for one play, which was he took his defender from the 3-point line, went lefty with it, got all the way into the hoop, and then spun around for a really awkward righty layup and got an and one. It was pure poetry. I would encourage you to go watch that play. If you haven't watched it already, it might be the only time you ever see something like that from Jericho Sims in his career. So that was pretty cool. Otherwise, got 2 dunks. So pretty standard stuff. And then I'll just say, I don't know what's going on with Alec Burks since the trade, but if he could start shooting the ball like he did in Detroit again, that would be really good. Shot 1 of 7 in this game. He's shooting 30% overall for the Knicks since he came back, and 30% from three. Not exactly what they signed up for when they traded for him. So I don't know. I think at this point he's kind of pushing towards being the odd man out when this team is fully healthy. Like I would not be surprised if he is not in the rotation once we reach that point. But I guess we'll see as things go on. Anyway, there's a game against Golden State on Thursday, so definitely keep your eyes out for that. We'll have a recap for that as well, and hopefully Jalen Brunson is healthy for that matchup with Steph Curry. But until then, thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.